So let's redo that again. Yeah. Cảm ơn các bạn đã trả lời với cái nào chú Paul. Hôm nay chú mời phó hiệu trưởng của trường International London Academy. Một trong những cái trường đối với Canada là hôm nay có hơn 14.600 trường đó nha. Thì tại sao chú chọn trường này? Là cái trường này nó khác với những trường khác.
Well, hello Paul, and hello to all of the guests. My name is Kyle Free, and I am the Vice Principal at London International Academy. We are a private boarding school in London, Canada. So it's a pleasure to be with you today.
Great.
Yeah.
So where do you go to school and where do you grow up?
Yeah, so I grew up in Canada, obviously, but in Ontario specifically. And as a child, I think I had a great childhood, you know, being in Canada, small town. So that sort of great childhood experience. After that, after high school, I went to USA to study, actually. I had a good opportunity there in Pensacola, Florida. So
no way. My sister's there.
Yeah, in Pensacola.
Pensacola, Florida.
Yeah, so I was there for my education, my education degree, and I had opportunity to stay there after graduating to work. But I didn't really feel the call to sort of stay in the States. I did. I had a good time there.
Did you?
Yeah, but I said no. I was sort of ready for the next step. And so after that, I was just always interested in history and culture and language. And so the next step for me then was I actually came to Asia. So I was in Asia for about 7 years, mainly in China, Korea, but also visiting and traveling in sort of the countries in this region. And wonderful experience. And I maybe would have stayed, but then after getting married, having kids, then sort of looking ahead to our future and for what would be best for our kids, then we made the decision to come back to Canada.
Okay. You traveled quite a lot already. In China for 10 years and all that, in Korea. So there is a cultural difference between the Canadian culture and then the Vietnamese culture or the Asian culture.
Yeah.
What would be the biggest difference in your opinion?
Yeah, there are so many, right? I mean, yeah, it's hard to explain in such a short time.
Right.
As we look at some of the cultural differences, I think one thing that we look at a lot, depending on the lens that we're looking through things, is sort of the opportunities that are there for us as individuals, maybe for our kids, for our families. And so that's something that was really evident to me. And so the region, or that location, really is a big factor in how many opportunities that someone can have.
Right.
Of course, you know, like the really excellent group of people, generally they're going to excel no matter where they are. But for most people, you know, not being in a certain place, that might limit some of the opportunities that they would have.
Very true.
And so in international education, when we see the opportunities that are available in Canada and abroad, it allows a lot of people that maybe are, you know, pretty good students or good individuals to have those education and those job opportunities by sort of opening up the door in whether in Canada or abroad.
Like you said, you've been with London International Academy for 9 years, 10 years.
Yeah.
What would be your biggest competitive advantage if you compare yourself to other schools?
Great question. It's hard to name just one.
A few then.
Yeah. There are a lot of schools on the market. I mean, in Ontario, there are more than 1,600 private schools, just in Ontario.
Right.
So you know, you have public schools and you have private schools, right? So there's one dividing factor there. And then I look at us as what makes us special is that, well, we're an international school. So we understand where international students are coming from, the challenges, the needs, you know, what parents are thinking. And we are, I would say, an excellent transition school for international students. So during those pivotal high school years, we bring in somebody that has a lot of, maybe some hesitation, some unknown, some sort of nerve factor that's there, not quite sure, and we're able to, in a very caring, I think, and loving environment, help them get ready for that next step. So we give them what they need at the high school level through the activities, through community service, and of course academics. And then when they move on to the next step in university, they're ready, So I would say a transition, and of course our IB program is something that really helps us to stand out.
Ontario, there's a grade 13.
Yes, yeah.
I'd love to know that.
Yeah.
So the question is the IB program similar to that?
I wouldn't say so. We often call the IB program, we call it Uni Light. Uni Light. So it is different, right? The OSSD program is more flexible, right? In terms of course selection, in terms of the pathway that you're going to take, depending on the major you're going to take in university. Whereas IB, you're taking 6 courses. You take 6 courses for 2 years. You have 3 that are SL or standard level, and then you have 3 that are higher level, that you let at advanced level. And so what it does is you're diving in much deeper into these classes than you would at the high school level. So that's why we call it Uni
Very
Light.
challenging.
Yeah, and on top of that, there are 3 other parts. So it's you have the TOK, which is the theory of knowledge. We have the EE, which is an extended essay, and also CAS, which stands for creativity, activity, and service. So there are other projects in IB that students have to learn to do and be a part of, maybe to run a little business or to run a volunteer program or leadership opportunities. So when students do go to university, that first year, it's a breeze for them, because they've kind of done similar thing already at the high school level.
So move on, we are entering into an AI society.
We are, yes.
What are your thoughts on what School of London International Academy do about that? Or you guys embrace it, or you guys like no? How do you?
It's a great question, right? I mean, AI is one of those things that you can't escape, right?
No.
It's the future, the technology, and so how do we deal with it as educators? You know, there are certainly many challenges to that, right? I mean, I'm sure we all wish when we were young that we had ChatGPT and all of these things, right? I mean, we would have saved us hours, right? And so, you know, those things obviously provide a lot of benefits. And so for some things, they can help us. But then the challenge, as you mentioned, for educators is that we want to make sure that we're still developing critical thinking skills and that students are doing things on their own. And so AI, it's a tool, right? It's a tool is what it is, but we also have to balance that tool, that we use it wisely and use it properly. And so with that too, in the classroom, we also have incorporated other things that are also use AI that we can also check. Scan students' documents and their work to run it through a system, and it will flag maybe certain paragraphs or certain reports. So it's a tool that can be used, but can also be used to our advantage as well. And so I think that's sort of the responsibility of educators to teach the new and emerging technology and AI on how to use it, but then also sort of caution and warn of the dangers and make sure that we're using it appropriately.
Of course. So how big is Vietnamese market for London International Academy?
I would say it's growing. It's growing market, and I've mentioned to some others as well, sort of coming here. This is the second time for me to visit Vietnam. I visited the first time earlier this year, actually. I think it's a beautiful country. I think it's a growing and emerging market. And I think more students and parents are sort of looking for opportunities abroad. And so for us, you know, we have, I would say, a small but good core of students from Vietnam at school, and they're great kids. They're great students. They're so well behaved, and so we're just really happy to have them and to work with parents and students and welcome them to Canada and to our school. So,
fantastic. So before we end this session, if you have to say to a parent, so imagine you have 1 kid in your school. What do you say to parents that, you know, the kid's going to come to your school to study? Generally,
we break it down to 2 or 3 things, right? As a parent, for me as a parent as well, I want to make sure that the place my kids are going to, that it's safe and caring environment, right? Because I can't be there, right? And so the safety and the care and the compassion, I want to make sure that they're well looked after. That's the first thing. Secondly, I want to make sure that they're getting the proper experience that they need, right? Whether that's in the classroom, whether that's outside of the classroom, that they're getting everything they need to be successful, not only at that high school level or whatever school, but also for the future in their stage in life as well. And then lastly, you know, we're looking generally for results, right? If I go here, if I do this, if I spend this time, this money, what am I getting for that, right? I want good results, the ROI. So that's something, again, that, you know, all of those 3 sort of boxes, I would say, is something that, you know, we've checked for the past 20 years that are priorities for us as an international school, and something as a parent. Well, thank you for your time today, Kyle. Thank you. Well, it was a pleasure to join you.
So next time.
I hope so. Great.
Thanks, bye.
Thank you.